In this video, we're going to start creating the hands of our character, and it's a very time-consuming process because it's a very articulate part of our body, and we're going to take extra considerations to make it an easiest process as we can make it. All right, so why don't we do some scene cleanup real quick. I'm going to go to my history, delete all by type, and I'm going to create a new layer, and let's name this doll mesh because now I actually have a doll mesh to call my own. And now we can lock it and hide it. All right, woo, that's looking pretty good. All right, so what we're going to do is it's going to be a lot easier to model our hand if it was at the center of our grid here. So we're going to do something crazy. I'm going to unlock my reference layer, and I'm going to select all these faces and duplicate them, or all these objects and duplicate them. And then I'm going to do a mesh combine. You know what? I'm actually going to grab those forearms too. The ulna and the radius, I think. I'm going to go ahead and mesh combined, and let's take it off of my reference layer, hide my reference layer, and let's just move my arm to the center of the grid. Let's go to my top view and align it straight up and down. It looks like my grid isn't showing in some of these windows. If that ever happens to you, then just go to show. It looks like my grids are turned off. And I'm just going to try to get this as flat and natural looking as possible. Let's try to get my fingers nice and pointed straight at us right here. And I'm actually going to try to position this hand right at the wrist at the center of the grid here. All right. So this is going to kind of be our reference hand for our wrist. So I'm going to create this, grab this and put it on a layer, and let's call this hand ref layer. And now we can lock it down. Now we kind of have our own scene set up for just our hand. All right, so let's create a cube. All right, let's scale it down. And we're going to add some subdivisions to it, but let's scale it a little bit, like so. Let's try to get the end of my hand right where the wrist begins. And then the end of my cube right here will kind of go near my knuckles right there. Let's scale these vertices up. Like so. It's not going to match our hand totally right now, but it's going to be close. We'll move these in closer to my fingers. Move this in closer to my thumb. Same thing here. And then we're going to insert some edge loops in between my fingers. Boom, and boom, and boom. You can kind of guess what these holes are going to become now, right? And then we're going to create a span of edges right there, kind of right before my knuckles. And I think I'm going to extrude out these faces here. Maybe scale them up to suggest that's where my forearm starts. I'm going to try to keep it blocky right now. Actually, you know what? Let's keep those front four faces blocky, but there's no reason we can't build out some organic shape right here. Again, what I keep saying, it's best to consider your forms when you have less vertices that you're having to juggle. And we'll scale these down. Let's grab these four verts and scale them in. And we'll grab these top and bottom verts and let's scale them out a little bit. So we kind of get the idea of a forearm beginning here. It'll just be easier to visualize that. All right. So what we're going to do next is we're going to go ahead and extrude out some faces and create a blocky hand. So I'm going to grab this face for the beginning of my thumb. These 4 faces will extrude, keep faces together off. And why don't we just pull them straight out? Kind of the distance you might think your fingers might go. And then we'll scale them individually. All right, so I'm going to undo that because I lost my tool, my extrude tool. I could have scaled them all at the same time like that. Oh, let's keep faces together off. And there we go. I'm going to go ahead and elongate my fingers. And I'm going to refine my thumb shape now. So the thumb is a very interesting appendage. That's going to be kind of the first meaty bit of our thumb right there. And in fact, these kind of need to go up a little bit because we're still thick right there. I'm going to select this face and move it down. And I want to rotate it. Kind of going down. You can kind of get the idea of how our thumb is going to be operating. And I'm not too worried about matching the reference right now. I'm just trying to get my geometry. I do know that that's going to be the tip of my thumb, so I'm going to go ahead and snap it there. And I really want to find the top of my thumb, which is right here, and match that plane to the top of my thumb. All right. Now let's get in here and manhandle some verts for a second. Let's catch this as best we can. You can see it's just an arduous process of getting our, we have a very few verts working here, but they're doing a lot of stuff, and wherever they get placed is going to be very important for the overall shape of my hand right now. All right. And that's obviously like a weird long shape for a thumb. So I'm going to bring these up right here. All right. So that is about as low poly as a hand as you can get. But right now it doesn't really do much. Oh, I don't like the way that thumb's twisting. But you know what? That was actually the top of my thumb here. I guess it's this edge loop that I don't like the way it's twisting. There we go. See what was going on there? You'll just find that you could lose your hair over all this stuff, pulling it out. See, I'm even getting lost down the rabbit hole. I'm not going to get lost anymore. Let's put that up there. That's going to be my last tweak. All right, cool. All right. So what we want to do next is we want to put a smooth on our hand. But before we do that, let's add some temporary support edge loops for the tips of my fingers. Otherwise, the smooth is going to make them look all jagged and weird. And the single smooth will help define my shape more and give us more of that geometry that we like to see there. All right, cool. Now I can delete these extra edge loops right there that I don't need. Perfect. Now the shapes of my fingers are kind of kept from the smooth, and I got a great starting point for my fingers. So we smoothed, and now we're going to delete these extra wrist faces that we don't need, like so. And we're going to delete all of our fingers except our thumb and middle finger, like so. That looks a little weird, right? With it popping out like that. But you can kind of guess what we're about to do. We're about to make one finger that'll form the basis for all of my fingers, because there's a little bit of topology considerations that we need to do. And for that to happen, why don't we go ahead and select those pieces, those faces right there, those pieces of faces, and extract. So we'll go to Edit Mesh, extract those faces off. Now we have a completely separate hand. Let's go to Edit, and let's just delete our history. And you can see that when we extruded or extracted, we're left with this group. I'm going to take these and unparent them from that group right there, so we have surface 1 and 2. All right, nice. So the next thing we need to do is start adding some geometry for our fingers. We're going to insert the following edge loops. We're going to insert an edge loop right at our knuckles and scale it in a little bit. Perfect. And really look on this finger kind of straight on as much as you can, because we're going to use our slice tool to give us some really nice looking knuckles. So they kind of go in like this. Let's bring up my hand reference layer. It's a little bit too much. We don't exactly know how these are going to relate to my my hand here. So we're just going to each finger until we put them into place. So we're just going to create a default template. And we'll do another little knuckle right there. I don't know what's going on with this edge, but I think I can use it. But it's not in the right place, so I'm going to select it. And we'll go to Slide Edge, middle mouse click and drag it. Perfect. I don't know where that edge came from. I didn't like the way it looks. So we'll just do a typical old insert edge loop. And it's nice to have my finger pointed in one direction, because I can use, the scale tool to flatten out our spans if we need to. And then from here, it's just another slice. I'm going to move these back a little bit. And then we're going to insert some edge loops between here. And we're going to scale them in a little bit. We're going to give that sausage look that we like. We're going to take the top verts of these knuckles and pull them up. We'll get our little knuckle fill going there. And yeah, I think that's about it. Maybe pull out the meat right here. Pull out the meat of the tip of the finger, and that meaty, this little meaty knuckle part right here. See how we can just subtly suggest the shape of a finger, and then when we sub-D it, we get something that's not too far off base. All right. Next, we're going to create a fingernail. This will be useful for bakes, or if you have enough polygon budget, just to leave it in your character. But we'll go ahead and create that right now by selecting these two faces right here. We'll scale it in once, and then we're going to do something fun here. Well, I guess that's kind of fun. We'll just rotate it up and scale it out. And now we get something close to a fingernail. And let's undo that. Always check your faces. Anyway, it might be nice to see that again. So again, we just pull in our verts there. We kind of push it back to create that cuticle. And then we'll grab these front three verts to kind of create maybe the nail. And that'll give us a decent enough little fingernail shape. If you wanted, when you were sub-D'ing this, and you wanted to keep that detail, you could even add a little edge loop there. And you really got a nice fingernail now. But for right now, we'll keep it low poly. All right, great. So this is where we want to be. We've created our hand, we've created a template finger, and we have the beginnings of our thumb.